What is going on, internet world? My name is Tommy. You probably know me as Rivet, and I am your coach of the Atlanta Braviaries, the highest flying, flyest looking team on YouTube. And we are here bringing you our draft analysis for the Showdown Draft Federation, the SDF, which is my league. I'm so excited for this league. It's going to be a fantastic season. We have a fantastic team to break down. So without any further ado, welcome to the workshop. Alright guys, we are here breaking down our draft for the Showdown Draft Federation Season 5. It's going to be a fantastic league. There's some amazing people in this league, amazing battlers, who all have some fantastic teams, but we're doing pretty okay ourselves. So this is a fantastic team. I'm incredibly happy with how this turned out. So a little bit of background into the league before we get started. It is a points-based draft league. We have 110 points to draft 9 to 11 Mons. And I've had some pretty good luck against some good teams the past couple seasons. I have yet to make it past the first round of playoffs. I've been eliminated in the first round all 4 seasons, so I'm looking to change that. And if there is a team that I've had for this league that is a title contender, this is the one. I'm incredibly stoked on how this came out. So going into the draft, I had the 6th pick, which is not terrible. It's a little near the middle, but I still had a really good chance of grabbing something great in the beginning of the draft, and I was incredibly excited because I had a vision of what I expected to go down and some things that I expected the first couple people to take, and it pretty much went off exactly as I expected. So I was incredibly excited. So with the 6th pick, usually you don't see it happen too much, but with the 6th pick, I was able to grab Dragapult. I was so excited that this thing fell to me because I knew that a couple of the guys who were before me, they either took it before or it wasn't really their style. So I was able to grab Pult, and this thing, if you don't know anything about it, let me tell you, it is a monster. It is one of the most potent offensive threats in the entire format, and it is just such a beast. Dragon and Ghost is an unparalleled dual stab offensive typing, and Pult makes incredible use of it with base 120 attack and 100 special attack. Moves like Draco Meteor, Shadow Ball, and Dragon Darts hit incredibly hard off this thing. It can also run something like a Power Herb Phantom Force for physical Ghost Stab, and it just has an incredible move pool. Fire Blast, Flamethrower, Hydro Pump, Thunderbolt. It gets utility moves like Will-O-Wisp, which it can run with Hex, and Thunder Wave as well. It's a fantastic pivot with U-Turn. And then it's just 142 base speed is absolutely incredible. It's only outpaced by Zeraora, essentially, and then some higher tier stuff. But it is fantastic. It's an amazing pivot. It smashes stuff with its dual stab, and its coverage is incredible so that it can break down pretty much anything. It functions in a variety of roles. It can be a special wall breaker, a physical wall breaker, a physical pivot, a physical setup threat with Dragon Dance. I mean, it just does everything. So Pult is just such a hassle to prep for. It can run literally so many things. All of the sets are viable usually every week, and it just macerates teams. In the early game, it can break stuff down with Draco. In the late game, it can clean. It just does everything. So I'm incredibly excited to use Dragapult J20 over here. So this is going to be a fantastic one. I have really high hopes for it. And so moving into the second round, I was asking around, trying to figure out what I wanted to pair Pult with, maybe something like a Mega Mawile, a strong Steel type. But I was talking with my buddy Pez, and he's like, he had used this last season, and he's like, what, try to grab a strong fighting type. A strong fighting type and a good knockoff switch in are great things for Pult. And so I was like, okay. So I was like, maybe I'll try to grab a nice fighting type, maybe something like Keldor. That'd be really cool. But at the end of round 2, there was one Mon that was just kind of still sitting there, and I was like, a strong fighting type, you say? And I used this last season, and it was an amazing time. So it's run back time, baby. So with my 2nd pick, I took Mega Glade. Mega Glade is an absolute beast, and in conjunction with Dragapult, I'm incredibly excited for the shenanigans I'm going to get to pull off. Mega Glade is an absolute beast, 165 base attack with the ability to Swords Dance up, and moves like Close Combat, Zen Headbutt, Triple Axle, Knock Off, Leaf Blade, the Elemental Punches, Poison Jab, Rock Slide. So it just gets everything under the sun. It is an incredibly powerful Mon. It runs so many moves so very well, and it just thrashes through cores. It's a fantastic wall breaker with an amazing dual stab. 110 speed is also fantastic. It outpaces a lot of faster threats and a bunch of bulkier, faster things. It's got very respectable natural bulk with 95 and 115 in its defenses. And just, it's a fantastic knockoff switching because I can switch in on a knockoff, get a justified boost. I'm not going to lose my Mega Stone or anything, and then I can just prepare to thrash something with a close combat or something of the sort. Set up a substitute. It runs sub bulk up very well with Drain Punch, sub Swords Dance. It gets priority in Shadow Sneak as well, and Vacuum Wave if I'm feeling really cheesy. But I had an absolute blast with MGal last season. I had a plan where I was going to be like MGal and Spectrier, and it was going to be fantastic, but Spectrier I hated. But you know what? Massive upgrade in the Ghost department with Dragapult, and it gives me an additional pivoting option into Glade, which I didn't have last season. So I'm incredibly stoked about this pair. I have really, really high hopes. Dragapult plus MGal is a lot to prep for, and that's without seeing the rest of my team yet. So going into round 3, I had an incredibly powerful 1-2 punch. I wanted some more defense, and I wanted to start rounding out some of my cores. So with my third pick, I decided to go with Tapuffini. Tapuffini is a fantastic mon, a fantastic typing of Water Fairy, great offensively and defensively. It's another great knockoff switch in for Dragapult, although it doesn't often want to lose its leftovers. But with the addition of Draining Kiss, it's not really a huge issue anymore. But 70, 115, and 130 is fantastic defenses. It's got 95 special attack, which is nothing to sneeze at, and especially in conjunction with moves like Hydro Pump or Scald, and Moonblast is dual stab. And then 85 speed is also very strong. The Misty Surge ability is great for it, letting it not get status with stuff like Toxic. It lets me switch in on Scald incredibly easily, and it lets it run Calm Mind very, very well, as it can't be toxic in those first 5 turns. It can also taunt stuff to help it set up Calm Minds. But other than that, it's just a fantastic bulky pivot. It can run moves like Taunt, as I said. It can defog. It does have to defog away its terrain, which is kind of bad, but defog is still an option for it. It can run Iron Defense in conjunction with Calm Mind, or run something like Iron Defense, Calm Mind, Stored Power, Draining Kiss, which is really scary. And it can run offensive sets, Choice Scarf, Choice Specs, with its very reliable dual stab, and solid coverage in moves like Ice Beam, Grass Knot, and that sort of thing. So very excited to use Feeney. I used it once before, and I had a good time with it. So, and then next up, pairing along with Feeney, I really wanted to grab Ferrothorn, as I thought that those two worked incredibly well together, but it got taken. So at the end of round 4, there was another big, obnoxious defensive wall that I saw just kind of sitting there, and I was like, you know what, this fits really well with Feeney as well. So with my 4th pick, I went with Glidecore. Glidecore is an absolute beast. Ground and flying type, incredibly defensive with the Poison Heal ability, giving it fantastic longevity, even without running something like Roost. And it's an absolute beast. Earthquakes hit really, really hard. Facade with being poisoned is also a fantastic option. It can Swords Dance up with that base 95 speed, which is also really solid. It can Roost, it can set Stealth Rocks, it can remove them with Defog. It's such a hassle to take down, unless you have a strong water or ice type, which Feeney handles incredibly well. Glidecore is here for days. It just doesn't die, so I'm incredibly excited to use Glidecore. It gives me another pivoting option into MGal and Pult, which I really love, and gives me a preliminary Stealth Rocker. So I'm super excited about Glidecore. I think that plus Feeney is going to be a complete hassle for teams to take down, especially while trying to live my onslaught from Dragapult and Mega Glade. So I'm incredibly stoked at how the team is looking so far. But I am burning through points like a madman. I've used over half my points in my first 4 picks just because I took some really, really strong stuff. So I decided I really had to cool it down going from here. I still didn't have a steel type. I wanted to round that out. So with my 5th pick, I decided to go with Bisharp. I'm really stoked about Bisharp. It's definitely more of an offensive steel, but it's a great switch in to stuff that Dragapult doesn't like. It fits really well with that. And it's an absolute beast. Dark and Steel typing is a fantastic stab combination. Knockoffs hit really hard. Iron Head, it can Sucker Punch, which is fantastic. It can Swords Dance up. It gets a bunch of good moves like Rock Slide, Stone Edge, Poison Jab, I believe. It also sets Stealth Rocks, which is fantastic if I don't want to run Stealth Rocks. On Glidecore, I can run them on Bisharp. It does have pretty okay defense with base 100 and that. Not super fast, but the presence of Sucker Punch helps that out. So Bisharp is just a really strong offensive mon that provides some really good defensive synergy for stuff like Mega Glade and Dragapult. So I really needed that Dark switch in, that Ghost switch in. And Bisharp, while it isn't fantastically bulky, it can run something like Assault Vest to make it a little bit bulkier. Take on those moves like Shadow Ball, Dark Pulse, and Psychic, and hit very, very hard in return. So I'm pretty stoked about Bisharp. And then moving into my next pick, I definitely wanted some speed. My team, besides Pult, obviously, is fairly slow and uninvesting right now. So with my next pick, I went with Talonflame. Talonflame's a really cool mon. Again, this is something I wanted to pair with Ferrothorn, but, rip the dream. But Talonflame, fantastic speed tier at base 126. It's a fantastic support mon with moves like U-Turn, Defog, and Roost. And the Flame Body ability giving me a great U-Turn switch in. And then it's also a potent offensive threat. It can Flare Blitz and Brave Bird in conjunction with Swords Dance. It can run special sets as well with stuff like Flamethrower and Hurricane. And I'm just really excited about Talonflame. It gives me just a great pivot. I'm a very reliable defogger that I can run every week with heavy-duty boots. Again, good longevity with something like Roost, and it fits really well in with Tapuffini and Glidecore. So I'm really stoked about Talonflame and how it fits on the team. I haven't used it yet. I've been loving using Moltres. So a little discount Moltres that doesn't hit nearly as hard But Talonflame, a pretty sick pick. I'm pretty stoked about it. And then moving next, I wanted a little bit more of a reliable answer to fairies, seeing as my steal right now is Bisharp and, Dragapult, Glade, they don't love dealing with fairies. So with my 7th pick, I went with Toxicity. Toxicity, a poison and electric type, an absolute beast of a special wall breaker. With base 114 special attack and the punk rock ability, this thing thrashes stuff with anything like choice specs, throat spray on shiftier sets, overdrive and boom burst hit incredibly hard. It does have stab sludge wave to hit those fairies that are giving me some concern, and it's just such a hassle to break through, or to take on rather. Specs boom burst hits incredibly hard, same with overdrive. It does have pretty respectable physical attack too at base 98, so maybe I can run something cheesy like a gunk shot set with shift gear. Technician it also gets, not sure if I'll be using that, but just punk rock is such a fantastic ability. Give me a really solid switch into something like maybe like Sylveon. It's going to be taking less from those hyper voices, and obviously I'm resisting it, so I'm pretty stoked about Toxicity. I haven't used it really. I used the G-Max form for like 2 seconds once in a replacement league, but I'm pretty stoked about Tox. And so going on from here, I only have like 10 points left. I wanted some more bulk, and I at this point I know I'm only going to have 9 Mons. So like I said, I got sniped on Ferrothorn incredibly early in the draft, but Pharisee was still sitting here, so I decided to go with Pharisee. It fits that great defensive synergy that I wanted with the other Mons like Fini, Glidecore, and Talonflame, and it does pretty much all the same stuff. It's very bulky with Eviolite and a fantastic typing in Grass and Steel. It's at Stealth Rocks and Spikes incredibly well. It can knock off and Gyro Ball for some solid utility. It can Thunder Wave as well. And so it's Pharisee. It pretty much does the same thing every week, but it's very fantastic at what it does. It gives me additional hazard pressure, with which Dragapult and Mega Glade love. And it's just a great support mon that fits really well with Fini and Glidecore. So it can also set Leech Seeds to give Fini some extra longevity, which I'm excited about. So Pharisee I've used before. It's pretty fun. I'm pretty stoked about Pharisee. I think he fits really well on the team. And he's just kind of stupid and dumb. So I'm pretty stoked on it. And then with my last pick, I wanted something a little bit faster. I wanted an additional form of removal, and I wanted an Ice type. So with my last pick, I went with Triagonal. Triagonal is a pretty cool mon for only 5 points. Base 80 HP and 135 in special defense. Makes it pretty specially bulky even with a terrible defensive typing like Ice. And it hits pretty hard with base 95 special attack. It gets moves like Ice Beam, Frost Breath, and Freeze Dry, which are important for an Ice type, I think. And then it gets like covered in Flash Cannon, which is pretty much it. But it's a great rapid spin user with heavy duty boots. It gets cover for longevity. And if I'm going up against a Hail team or something, it does get Aurora Veil for maybe some cheese with setup Dragapult or Mega Glade. But essentially, it's a form of removal. It's an Ice type, and it gives me another ground immunity for stuff like for Toxicity, which obviously doesn't want to take an Earthquake or anything. So that's the team we're rocking with. I'm incredibly excited with how this came out. I think it's going to be a super duper tough task for people to break down and survive every single week. Glade and Pult is just such an offensive onslaught, especially with pivoting options from Talonflame and Tox, and just breaking down Fini, Glidecore, and Pharisee is just going to be such a hassle. So I'm incredibly excited. I think this is the one. If there's going to be a team I've got for this league that's making a run for the ship, it's right now, and I am due. I will do it. This is the season. This is my declaration to you. I will get past the first round of playoffs this year. Mark my words. So leave a like if you are excited for this team. If you're excited for me to finally do something in my own dang league. Drop a comment telling me your favorite mon, your favorite pick, or who you think the kill leader is going to be. I gotta say, I'm stoked about Pult. I think Pult is going to bring in the absolute money this season. So thank you guys so much for watching. Battles will be starting very soon for both this and the NPBA, so watch out for that. And then ISL playoffs will be continuing this week as well. So thank you so much for watching. As always, I will see you next time. Take care.